Get ready to get inspired. This is the Go4TheGoldy podcast.
Hey there, it's a rare Thursday edition of the podcast on Thursday, February 11th, 2021, and for good reason. We have a rare talent on the show today. He's my first actor/entertainer on the show, and has appeared in productions such as American Idiot and Spring Awakening on Broadway, films like Wolf of Wall Street and Admission on the big screen, and Law & Order SVU and Gotham on your television screens. It's the one and only B2 the Brian Charles Johnson. Welcome aboard, sir. How are you?
What's up, man? I'm good. How are you?
Oh, thanks for coming on, man. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Same. Excited to be here.
Well, you should be, because I'm a big deal.
Damn straight.
So kind of my thing, what I do here is when I produce the podcast, I put the backdrop for different categories. So as you're scrolling through my podcast, you can see, oh, this guy's an athlete, or this girl, is a Twitch streamer or whatever. So you're the first actor/entertainer, from that world I've had on, musician. So I decided to go with blue. So if you notice, the lights behind me are blue,
I like
too.
the blue, man. I got this curtain behind me is blue. You can't see it because I'm in outer space. But
yeah, that works. I mean, you're out there, baby, and you're loving every minute of it.
Out of this world.
So we'll get started here by saying, I always like to have you introduce yourself, just a little blip about you and, what you do.
Yeah, I'm Brian Charles Johnson, or if you're in the Buffalo city limits, I'm BJ. I am an actor, singer, entertainer of sorts. I've been in a couple Broadway shows, Spring Awakening and American Idiot in the original casts of those. I have had roles in TV, such as Gotham and Law & Order SVU, like you've said, and I've done some films, so I've done a little bit of everything, and now I'm living in a pandemic, so are you.
And here we are.
Yeah.
A year later. You could have played this last year and it'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild, man. I mean, I've had people on here that I didn't know that I'm talking to really for the first time, and some casual friends. But for someone like you, who we've grown up together, I mean, we met probably when I was in 9th grade. You were probably in 10th.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it's just wild to have seen your success and what you've been able to do. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think when I was pretty intimidated by you at first because you were so freaking good at music. I mean, you were playing. If anyone has ever tried playing music, they know brass instruments are they're pretty weird because it's all about your embouchure, right, the shape of your mouth, and then you want to take it a step further. The French horn is just this bizarre. Like, it's an instrument that is really difficult to play, and you were incredible at it. I mean, you probably could have made a career at the French horn if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, so I played that instrument in 4th grade and on, because I originally wanted to be a drummer, and I'll never forget, I remember my mom showing me, before you had to make the decision, this book that just had all sorts of random instruments in them. And I was like, drums, that's what I want to do. She's like, Brian, why don't you take a look at this one? And it was this circular.
Yeah, what the hell is this thing? Yeah.
Circled around itself. I'm like, what is that? It's like a French horn. And I'm like, oh, I want to play the drums. Like, well, you'll have more opportunities if you play the French horn and start early, because then you'll get really good and no one will be as good as, So I was like, damn, I'm thinking about that now. I'm like, good idea, smart. Glad I didn't do the drumming thing, I guess. But I did that since 4th grade, where they had to borrow a French horn from the high school because no elementary school ever has a French horn.
Right. Yeah.
And Mrs. Pramanix was the music teacher there, and she actually played French horn. So I would take because no one else played French horn. She opted to take lessons with me in school. Anytime I had a lesson, she would sit next to me and play with me too. And
that's cool.
In the orchestra with me too. So it wasn't just me by myself.
Right.
But definitely helped in, at least being more comfortable. But then I did it through yeah, middle school, high school, trained with this fella named Dwayne Setvite, who was in the Buffalo Philharmonic, and and then once I hit college, like I decided to go the take. It's basically, you got to do one or the other, and
Right.
I chose the singing route and acting side of things. And yeah, I do regret. I wish I can't just pick it up anymore. I mean, that's the thing with brass instruments, right? With the embouchure, it's like
Hmm.
you don't realize how crazy hard that is to acquire because you've been doing it all day, like every week since you were a kid.
Hmm.
Of course, you naturally think you have that, but once you like stop doing it for a while, it's so hard.
I felt like that. I felt like for the first time in my life, I felt like one of those people that was like, you hear these jamokes who are like, I was the star of the football team in high school, and then you go to watch him throw a
Yeah.
football, and he throws it. Looks like he's never thrown a football before. So I don't know if you can see behind me the trombone. I
Oh, I see
um,
it.
I am getting back into it, and I tell
Yeah,
my
that's great.
friends, I was like, back in the day, man, I was really good at the trombone. I want to get back into it, and I tried to play something. It's like, I sound like an idiot.
Yeah, right. I know.
And they're
I
like, sure
tried
you
to
were.
do it like pick up because my friend was covering this like Neil Young song or something that has like iconic French horn solo in it.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, "Can you learn to do that and like by next week?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, of course." And I went to go practice, and I'm like, "Oh my
What the
god,
hell? Yeah.
I am a shell of myself."
And that's so one of my goals is to get back into it. You've been an inspiration to honestly for me to do this, but what you and Stephanie are doing with your videos and singing together and doing duets.
Yeah,
I actually
yeah,
just bought Jenny a violin, and we're gonna take piano music, and I'm gonna play the bass, and she's gonna play the treble, and we're gonna
yeah.
kind of make a unique little duet of different songs and
That's
produce
awesome.
music videos. But you were a big inspiration for that. Seeing you guys do that was really cool, and you bond by doing that quite a bit. I can imagine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you either bond or you fight. It's one of the two. Hopefully, it's a happy marriage of both. But,
Well, you seem
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
happy.
No,
If you guys were fighting, it'd be
no,
like,
it
yeah,
was,
no violin
yeah.
for you, Jenny. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, right, right. No, it's great. It's great.
So
Yeah, I'm glad we got to do that.
yeah, that's it's and no, what's cool too, man. Is I didn't know that story about you about wanting to play drums because that
Yeah, I always wanted to play, and the deal was like, do this, do the French horn, and then like if you still want to, later, like we can do drums on the side. So I was like, so I think it was maybe middle school that I finally cashed in that response, and so I did some like lessons with my trumpet teacher because I wanted to be at least cooler than regular band and be in the stage band or
Yeah.
jazz band in middle school. So I picked up trumpet, which was pretty easy because a lot of the fingerings are really similar to the
Mhm.
French horn.
the
And
mouthpiece
then
is
they
pretty
had,
similar too, right?
well, the mouthpiece, so it's a little wider. It's probably somewhere, probably like the middle point between French horn and trombone. Uh, but they actually custom made a mouthpiece so that I didn't have to change my French horn embouchure
Oh, that's cool.
to play it. So my
Wow.
my like my mouthpiece for the trumpet is this huge like circle, and then there's like a little opening in the instead of the normal like probably
Wow.
double that amount or something. So that actually
That's cool.
helped a lot, and it's a little kind of life hack for a trumpet player being able to play higher.
Yeah. That's
It's
wild. I
just a
didn't know
little
that.
easier. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's harder to get that embouchure for it, but
Right.
once you have it, you can hit notes higher than the average bear.
So, in addition to like, and me and you, I think, kind of developed a relationship in high school because we were in all the music groups. I didn't have the singing side of things, so I was never on that side of that world. But between like band and jazz band and wind ensemble and all that kind of stuff, pit orchestra, all that kind of,
That's right.
like me and you were basically like all and wreaking havoc. We'll be honest on the band
Right.
directors.
Pit
and,
orchestra, yeah, and I broke my leg and couldn't be in the musical.
I was gonna write.
French horn, yeah.
I was gonna write inventor of the trompet in your description, but
Well, that's technically Marky, I think.
well,
I
you
feel
had a
like-
hand in it.
I mean, it was a collaborative effort. For
It
sure,
was.
'cause, yeah,
He's
we
the one who
needed
played
all
it. He's the one who played it. Yeah.
Right. He successfully played.
So for those of you who don't know, in orchestra, I played the trombone, he played the French horn, and our other buddy played the trumpet, and we all sat next to each other, and our orchestra was so bad, we could not play. I mean, you were playing Rocky at one point during a concert, no one noticed.
It was a whole thing.
So so we mixed all the trumpet, the trombone, and the French horn together to make one instrument and called it the trompet. And so that's where that story comes from.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
moving on. So
An endearing memory.
and it is an endearing memory. So obviously, I mean, you had all the talent in the world in middle school, high school. So, moving on to college, what made you decide to, like you said, you had to make that decision to go from French horn or music to kind of vocal type stuff and acting that you wanted to do?
Right. It just came down to thinking about wanting to pursue something that that always made me happy, regardless of what version of it or what, so anytime I did a play or musical, like, it was just like the best thing ever, and I had such a blast doing it and seemed to get a pretty good response back, which was the best. So I remember when you're deciding for what you're going to major in, or at least apply for colleges, I had like a talk with my mom, and I was just said exactly what I said to you, and that I think I wanted to pursue theater and acting, and I really believed that it could happen. And some of it was equal parts arrogance and naivety, but I don't know, I just got this premonition kind of feeling that was kind of my path, and thankfully I have very supportive parents that basically were like, well, as long as you work as hard as you can to pursue that, then we'll support you whatever you want, which was obviously, without that I wouldn't have been to any of the places I've really been able to be.
Yeah. I was gonna say every time a kid tells their parents they want to go to acting school or
Yeah,
they know they're gonna make it.
especially when you're in a house full of teachers and accountants and physical therapists and computer engineer. So
yeah, took a hard left turn.
Yeah, right, at Albuquerque.
So you went to college. So you went to NYU out the gate, right?
Yeah.
And you did that because you just finished your but you finished your degree later.
So I did 3 years, and while I was in my junior year, training at the Atlantic Theater Company, because they put you in a certain theater. There's a bunch of different theater companies you can train under, and during your intake interview and audition, because you have to audition for this too. It's a separate part of applying for college as a theater major, is you have to physically audition and make it into the program.
Similar to music, right? Like, don't you do that
right,
with
any sort of performance based thing. I'm guessing you probably have to do that on top of all the paperwork and essays and stuff. But I lost where I was going. What was it?
So you did 3 years at NYU, and then
So 3 years, and then during my junior year, the Atlantic Theater Company was putting on a production of Spring Awakening, which is a new show based on a play that was written in 1891, and they thought they knew that they wanted young kids for the production, so they were like, wouldn't it be great if one of our students could possibly make it through and be cast, and so they kind of threw me in.
And just to be clear, this is because Spring Awakening is a popular Broadway musical, and people know of it. Yeah, exactly. Now it is.
Right.
To put it in perspective, it didn't exist on Broadway at the time that you're talking right now. Like, you're an original cast member of or potential.
Right. I mean, when I got the audition or the call about the audition for it, my only context for it was I actually had to do a project on or an essay on the play that because in my freshman year it was in Intro to Theater Studies ITS. They were putting on a production at the school, so we had to like do the project before, and then we all saw the production, and it was super weird, man. Like really weird, and like sexual, and I don't know the play version. It was I mean the production was great, like for what it was. I just like did not get down with that script very much, and so when I heard, oh, we're gonna set this show to music, I was like, what
The hell? Yeah.
How is that gonna work? And then I read the script that Steven Sater wrote that before the audition. I was just like, oh, this is a lot clearer. Like he just kind of plugged in a lot of holes for me with his, his attention to detail and just his descriptive script and that made a lot. And once I read, I was like, "Oh, this is actually I think could be really good." And then I auditioned with Lady Madonna was because they wanted a Beatles-esque song, so I had sung a bunch of Beatles with my dad. So I liked Lady Madonna, went with that, and like
that's
had
cool.
a month of callbacks, and it was crazy. I didn't even realize I was like what I was auditioning for, like the grand scale of what I was auditioning for, because I was so ingrained as a student at the Atlantic and at all of these theater companies that are training people. They really don't want kids to be in anything other than like the student productions, and do like the way they put it was like if you're a tennis pro or like a tennis prodigy and you're really good in high school and you want to like become a professional, you start your training, but you don't do tournaments until you're done with your training, or else you'll just go back to your bad habits.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of a phrase like that
which was
before.
a really, I mean, I don't know why they picked tennis, but that was a very descriptive thing that clicked for me, that I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I never was like pursuing anything. I was just like in my studies, and then this thing just like came to the doorstep of the theater company I was training under, and just happened from there, which is kind of nuts. But
that's really cool, man. And I can only imagine, like in the world of, the world that you're existing in at that time, it's and just as it is now, I mean, it's so competitive that you're going to take any opportunities that you can. I mean, in theory, that makes sense. Like, make sure that you've perfected your craft until you move on. But at the same time, it's like, I got an opportunity here, and so
well, and they were because third year is a lot different than first or second year, because like you can. First and second, like once you choose a theater company, you have to train with them for the first and the second year as like a package deal. And then your third year, you have the option of staying, or you can go to any of the other ones if you want to.
Gotcha.
Which is pretty cool. But I loved Atlantic, so I stayed there. And thankfully I did, because they had the auditions my third year. But the funniest part is like we had our final callback. That was it was at like, I don't know, 3:00 or something. And I had a final project for sketch comedy class where we all performed the best sketches. Each one of us like performed our sketch, or I was in a bunch of other sketches and stuff. So, but it was supposed to be done before that. So I was like, cool, no problem. And I went in and they were like, great, can you come back at 6:00? And it was like, there was something like that. It was smack dab like right when I was supposed to be in the sketch show. So luckily it was just down the hall from each other, and so I told them, I was like, yeah, I can't come back, but I'm supposed to
I gotta go.
I have to do like this sketch show down the hall for my final grade.
That's so crazy.
I don't know they're like, okay, well, how about every time you get off stage, you run down and you check if we need you.
This is like a comedy routine.
Dude, and I swear to God, it was crazy, because I must have looked so crazy, because a lot of people that were auditioning for it, like, were not from it, like, in the theater company there or being taught there. They were just literally there to audition. And, I mean, I was running down the hallway in different costumes.
They must have been like, who the hell is this crackerjack?
Yeah. Like, what's his deal? But... yeah, I was running bad. I was in like 3 different costumes, I think, by the time I I got the audition, and I think I'm pretty positive I auditioned in a throwback Buffalo Braves jersey
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
was like 2 sizes too big for me, and because I was playing an imaginary friend that was like a hip hop connoisseur
That's so
uh,
funny.
of a kid, so I was dressed like that. Man, so I
So
can't believe it.
we got a question here,
Oh
BJ,
yeah,
from
what's up?
Bill Esro. You know Bill
Oh
Esro.
yeah,
Yeah.
what's up?
So he's
Neighborhood
watching.
pal.
Shout out to Bill. He said, "Is there any way to watch a recording of Spring Awakening or American Idiot? He wasn't able to get to see either of them on Broadway."
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff on YouTube. I don't know if there's like an official link where they have the full Broadway. I mean, you can check some of the Broadway websites too, but I know that there are some unofficial, like full length, at least of Spring Awakening. I'm pretty sure American Idiot as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't have access to like the full stuff or think of any website offhand, but yeah, I mean, YouTube's got everything, so
So
definitely start
basically,
there.
what you're saying is, Bill, you lost out. You suck. You're not a good person. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's you're putting words in my mouth.
So obviously you got the part. You wind up getting the part with Spring Awakening, and then
Yeah,
this was
so
just
yep,
a
yep.
life
After
changer
like a
for you.
month through the ringer, got told before like leaving for Christmas break that I got it, and I was finishing up my junior year, second semester. Basically, whenever we had rehearsals, I just went to those, and Atlantic was very awesome and like helped me keep up with my studies at the same time. And I finished my junior year, and then we started off Broadway at the Atlantic Theater. Did that summer, and then we found out before our end that we were going to Broadway, but not until like December. We opened December 10th, 2006. So we had like a few months in between. Um, but yeah, that was pretty nuts. So I had to take a leave of absence
Hmm.
from school, which ended up being 7 years. And then after Spring Awakening, American Idiot, and I was just doing film and television. Those were what I was getting. So those were pretty sparing, and I had a lot of time on my hands. So I went back and finished the degree, which I'm so glad I did because at least it's something that shows that you did put in all that work,
Yep.
and you got like your receipt basically. And it was something that I used to have like reoccurring dreams where I would always be like in a pop quiz scenario, or like everyone else around me is aware that a test is about to be taken except like me, and I'm so unprepared. And I had all of that all the time, and then when I finished college, I haven't had one since. So it's crazy, like
That's
these
interesting,
things
man.
that yeah.
Bill says that he listens to the soundtrack on Spotify ever so often
Not
as
yeah, and
well.
all
So.
the music's definitely on
Yep.
Spotify and iTunes and stuff too. Yeah.
But so I know I told you that you were kind of a motivating fact, not kind of, you were a motivating factor for, me to get back into the trombone and work with Jenny and, making music together. But you and Marky were two people that really encouraged me to finish my degree too. And, that dream that you had, I mean, I never had a dream like that, but I just constantly felt like, even though we're doing a ton of cool things, it just always felt like that degree just was this hanging cloud over my head that it
Right.
was just
Right.
something that, to put all, because I had a similar situation in terms of I had gone through a lot of school and then I just
Sure.
stopped because I hate school. But
Because you went on. So where did you start? Did you
I
start
went
here
all
and
over
then
the
you went to
place.
Chapman, or
I started at
was
Chapman.
Chapman before here? You
Chapman,
started
yeah,
Chapman,
yeah. Started Chapman, then UB, and then honestly
right.
being home and paying like state tuition just couldn't have been worse for me because distractions. I wasn't mature enough to be paying attention to school, and
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
been one to really study hard or go hard in school anyway. So, but honestly, you really were one of those people who motivated me to finish. Once I saw you get your degree and then Marky got his, I was like, all right, I got to get mine. Like these guys are doing
That's
it
awesome.
and
Yeah. Well, you know what I've found is that I like enjoyed it so much more
yeah,
going back at a later date and not having to like deal with the regular things you deal with as an actual college age student,
yeah,
because when you're going to school and that's all you're doing, like you're socializing, you're like that, those are the things that's like the big component that you're trying. Where are you going to hang out?
Well, it's the
Are you
first
going,
time you haven't lived at home, so you're just basically figuring out like
exactly.
life in general.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to learn about
Right.
history or some nonsense I don't care about. Yeah.
And when I went back, I was like, it was hilarious because everyone just thought I was in college. Like no one until like a couple people like asked me a little bit more. Like everyone just assumed I was their age and in college, which is great. So the baby face was working.
Well, incognito, yeah.
Yeah, right. But the best part was like, you go for the classes that you actually want to take, and not that your friends are all in, and it's the easiest you heard. So, because that's how I signed up for a lot of my courses that I didn't care, like that I
exactly
needed for credit. I was like, all right, how many friends do I have in this one?
It was more checking boxes. It was
which
like,
ones are the easiest? Like,
Yeah.
So I went back and did like a bunch of different things that I really loved, and then I went home. Instead of going to hang out with people in class afterwards or whatever, I just went for school, and then I went back uptown to my apartment.
It wasn't like Tuesday beer pong nights or whatever.
No, right, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to worry about all that. The social aspect.
Bill did the same thing. He said he finished his degree in 2019. So team late degree club here. Let's go.
That boy, Billy. Billy, by the way, I'm broadcasting from your old neighborhood in my parents' home. So, shout out to neighbors.
Shout out to neighbors. So you got the so you did Spring Awakening. Now that's where really like obviously you were going to school for it, and your sights were set on being a professional actor, or musician. But Spring Awakening, I mean, is really exploded for you, right? Like this is where things changed.
Yeah, it was kind of the little show that could kind of thing. Where I mean, honestly, we were all kind of in our own bubble. Like we knew it was great, but all of us were so young that the exception of a couple people who had done shows before, most of us were newbies. And I mean, I had no idea what it took to be a Broadway show. This felt like what I would think it would feel like, but like I had no idea. So we were just all enjoying the ride. And we even had like our director, Michael Mayer, constantly would be like, Broadway won't get us. They won't get us. And he kept like downplaying it, so we didn't like get our hopes up, kind of thing. But then one day they walked in before our run and were like, we're going to Broadway.
Well, it's pretty cool too because I think you said earlier they wanted a cast of kids. So, with a bunch of young people like that, they don't have the exploded Broadway musical.
Which I think is part of the like that raw beauty that they were going for and achieved by casting people kind of like out of the molds. And that's I think what was so impactful for the performances is everyone was so different but unique, but like blended well together. And
it was just a lightning in a bottle, it sounds like.
Right, yeah, it really was. And like as each thing got added onto the snowball, like we became a little more aware. But I mean, the whole time it was just kind of like getting to do something amazing every day with really awesome people that are still like we're still all texting each other in a message, and we're all family because of that.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I think one of the moments that I realized that you were doing some pretty cool stuff. I mean, not that I'd never doubted you or anything, but do you remember when I think I was like 21. I must have been 21 or 22, and I lived in Carolina at the time, and I met my dad in New York City, and we went to the Yankee game.
Yeah.
And I think you were with Jay in the outfield, and me and my dad were, I think, like in the first base line.
Yeah,
we were in different spots. And I remember we were on the train on the way home, and some girl walked up to you and recognized you from the show. Do you remember this?
I remember that.
And she was like, "It's my birthday tonight. Would you want to come? Like, if you came, that would mean the world to me." And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, someone in New York City just recognized you from Broadway. How cool is that?
Yeah,
So
that was pretty wild. I mean, that didn't happen very often, so that was a pretty rare.
You could have told me it happened every day, and I would have believed you.
Wild.
So you blew it.
I mean, it happened more than once, but no. I mean, it's always weird in a good way, though.
Yeah, that was such a cool thing to see, like one of your friends just experience it. I'm like, wow,
my
God.
Full disclosure, I paid her to be at that stop when we were. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I hope it didn't cost too much for you.
No.
Good.
Was cheap.
So as far as the show goes, I mean, it won some awards. Like, and you were an original.
8 of 11 Tony Awards, if you can believe it.
That is ridiculous. So,
Yep.
how does as a dum dum like me, like the Tonys, that's like live
So
or what is
Tony's
it?
is the Oscars of theater, and we were nominated as a show for 11 awards and took home 8 of them, including Best Musical overall, which is like that's Best Picture is Best Musical. So it's the last award of the
That's
night.
incredible.
And we won it, and it was pretty awesome. Yeah, it was like not a lot of people thought we were too edgy or it was too
Right.
risque of a show to be able to get that. And then when we got to the award ceremony, and it started because they do like an hour pre-show that's not televised, but for the people in at that time it was Radio City Music Hall, and we won a couple awards, like the Sound Design wasn't one yet, but it was like lighting and score or something like that, and then so we had already won a couple before it officially started, so we already had a good feeling. And then John Gallagher Jr. won Best Featured Actor, and it just kept like snowballing for the rest of the night. It was amazing. Yeah,
Wow.
It was one of those things where when it started, I was like you're not supposed to be at those things.
Yeah.
Like those are those things that you always see on TV. It's like, it's any award show or the Super Bowl or stuff. Like you just always feel like you're supposed to be watching on the TV, and then when you're there, it's like, whoa, this is nuts. And my brother and my parents were actually able to be there for it because our producers bought tickets gave access to tickets for.
That's cool.
Any family members to want to come.
Well, it goes back to like what we talked about on your show, the imposter syndrome. It's like I shouldn't be here, even though you should. You obviously you should have.
It's like it's crazy. You always know that people are human beings. These celebrities are human beings, but like at the same time, you never break that barrier plane that you're like also on the same side of the fence.
Right. It seems like they're in a different planet. It's like they were born
Right.
like this, and you don't see yourself as one of them. But that's
sure. Yeah.
So you had that great experience, and then let's bridge the gap between Spring Awakening and American Idiot. How did that come about?
So it was actually the same, primarily a similar creative team. That it was same director, same lighting designer, same set designer, same sound designer. That they all asked me. The director asked me to be in the production. I did a couple workshops of it before. One while I was doing Spring Awakening in my last year, and so that there was probably like a 5-month hiatus between the two projects for me, but then we maybe a little more, but then we ended up getting a run out in Berkeley at the Berkeley Rep Theater out in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And we did that for 6 months, and then we brought it back to Broadway. And before Broadway, Green Day, which was all they're doing, but they wanted us to sing a song with them on the Grammys. So before we left, after our production had closed, we stayed like another week or a few days or something to record the 21 Guns, our cast version of it, so that we can do it with Billy Joe and Green Day for the Grammys that upcoming year, like a few months later.
Oh my God.
Which was amazing. It was wild. Dude, that was insane.
Well, I was going to say,
Staples Center.
I think let's just run through, just take a brief second here for people to understand some of the cool opportunities that you've been able to experience because of what you've done. So that is a once in a lifetime opportunity in and of itself.
Yeah. We also, for both shows, we did win the Grammy for both cast albums, which is pretty sweet.
So your first show you're in wins.
I didn't get one physically,
but your first show you're in wins Tonys. Second show you're in is winning Grammys. I mean, come on, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you you did that. So you did that recording. You've been on the Rosie O'Donnell Sirius XM show at the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You did that.
Yeah,
You did.
I met her on The View when we were doing The View because she loved Spring Awakening, and then she became sweetly infatuated with me.
Wait, you did The View?
Yeah, the Spring Awakening cast, we performed on The View. Yeah, we were actually supposed to be on Rosie's like last show on The View,
Wow.
and then there was like all that controversy stuff went down, and she quit early.
That sex
And then
scandal
we
you
got
were
to
part
do
of?
the
Yeah, I
show.
remember you and Rosie.
Yeah, that's
I
the
remember
one.
that. That was wild.
No.
So I didn't know that about you though. That's awesome that you had that opportunity.
Yeah,
That's
we
crazy.
did it. I mean, with both shows, like especially during Tony season, you want to promote the show as much as you can. So our producers had us on a bunch of these awesome, like ridiculously huge shows, like Letterman. I did with both shows. I did a performance there. We were The View.
You did halftime
And then
at the Giants
we
Stadium,
did
right?
halftime at the first game at MetLife Stadium. It
Unbelievable.
was the Jets versus the Ravens, and the Jets lost.
Shocking. Good.
But that's shocking.
Yeah. Go Bills.
But that was sweet. We rehearsed on the field the night before, after one of our shows. Like we all got in a bus, went out to MetLife, rehearsed, and then left. But that was like the coolest thing because nobody was in the stadium.
Wow.
It was like just us and bare bones staff there. So that was really sweet. Like one of those buildings that you don't think is ever not humming. And it was just like peaceful, and you're on 50-yard line.
Wow.
And then when we ran out for that halftime show, I realized how very, very tiny I am. My head was like, I felt like a little boy. Like
I feel that way every time I reach for the plates in our cabinets. You know.
I mean, they were crazy, like so big. My head was at their waist.
Yeah.
That's how big these guys are.
I always say that with hockey players or soccer players. You know, I worked in Major League Soccer. When you're around these guys, you know, you're like, wow, they're just crazy skilled athletes. You know, when a football player enters a room, it's like, oh, like they stand out.
He must play football, and if he doesn't, he is making a grave mistake.
Yeah, it's like I always say, like, I don't know how you can like describe, like, if I stood next to J.J. Watt or if I stood next to, I don't know, any of these players. It's like, how can you call me the same thing as him? Like, we're both humans, I guess, but
It'll
not
never
really.
not look like a Big Brother type of
Yeah, exactly.
situation. Yeah.
So I mean, American Idiot, incredible experience. So I always, and I never actually asked you this, but I always wondered how is it common for actors to transition from, theater type stuff like you were doing, to include, film and television in the repertoire as well? Is it because it seems like it's a different kind of acting?
I think it should be, because it makes the most sense to me that if you can do live theater, then that's the hardest it gets. You have to do from start to finish. You have to do a show, and you can't stop. Like
so retakes,
even if you make a mistake or something goes wrong, you have to figure it out and keep the show going because there's people that paid for a ticket out in the audience. With film and television, it's like you do a scene at a time. So, I mean, I found that, I mean, obviously it's not like if you're a theater, actor, you're going to translate to film and television, no problem. Like, obviously each aspect has its own intricacies that you have to navigate. But it makes a lot more sense to me to have Broadway actors go to film and television more naturally than film and television going to Broadway, because it's like almost in reverse of the amount of work you have to be prepared to do, and they're just two totally different worlds that I'm glad I've gotten to be in pieces of all of them. But I would definitely say that Broadway acting is, I mean, there's nothing harder than live theater. So if you do that, I think you can do.
So what was the catalyst? What made you go from theater to TV and TV and film?
I mean, I guess just wanted to do everything, not really limiting myself to one platform, I guess.
Like, was there like someone? Because I'm so outside your world. You got to talk to me like that Michael Scott.
No,
Talk to me
sure,
like I'm
yeah.
5. So
I mean,
do you like reach out
so
to
are
someone that you
talking
knew?
about, like,
Or?
how did you do it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was doing. So I had a very rare path of. I got Spring Awakening because of where I was, or not because of, but that's how I got the opportunity. Was because I was at school at Atlantic Theater Company. Most people have to have agents or someone be represented that gets you the audition, and then you show. They're doing all of that stuff on your behalf. But I didn't have any of that because I was still just in college. So I did a Broadway show, which is pretty rare to do a Broadway show without an agent. But I was able to do it. So when I was on Broadway, one of my cast members, mentioned to their agent that I was unrepresented, and they kind of came to me, and that's how I dipped my toe in the agency pool. And I went with an agent first because I didn't really know anything, and I just figured, oh, agent, that's the one you want. Manager, kind of wasn't sure exactly how that worked yet, so I didn't do that. And another cast member's manager kept approaching me like over the course of time, and finally I gave in and had a meeting and decided that the manager actually is the more important aspect, because they handle your like career wise, as opposed to just like the next thing, the next game.
Right. They're more farsighted.
Like they're more personal and all that. But so I eventually had both an agent and a manager, and they send over the sides, which are the parts of the script that you're doing for the audition, the breakdown. They get you a specific time that you show up and give you all the information, and then it's just luck after that, and hopefully they like you and give you the gig.
What a ride. Do you think it's easier? Do you think that you're obviously skill-wise with theater and your acting experience before getting into movie and TV, do you think that your experience, like, was there any notoriety? Was there any recognition of you? When you went to an audition, they knew who you were, or were you just a faceless?
Yeah, I mean, when I was doing the show, even still, because the show, especially Spring Awakening, kind of stood out and was pretty iconic. A lot of people might know me from that in the casting agency world, but yeah, I mean, when you're doing any show that people can come see at that capacity, they wouldn't be doing their due diligence if they didn't know who you were while you're doing a show. But after you're out of that, which has been years removed now, I find some people might know, some people might not, but it really doesn't matter to me. Like, I have it on the resume, they can see it there, but for me, it's all about what I'm doing in the room at that moment.
Right.
It matters to me, because that's a thing that's going to get me the job. It's not the credit that, oh, I was in. He was in this years ago. Like, that's more cool for like, oh, maybe I do. Yeah, I recognize him. That's kind of the power that has.
I see what you're saying.
It's like, it's less about your resume and more about what you're doing in the room.
See, to me, that's the most interesting thing, and that's why I really wanted to have. I think that's why I wanted you to come on this show, because the whole point of this show is to inspire others to, do their best. And I think too many people nowadays just, find a job and settle and then just write it out. And for all the accolades that you have and all the cool things that you've done, you have to approach. You don't have a guarantee. It's not like you're putting into your 401k and, you can cruise until, you retire. This is every project or every audition that you're going into, you have to put 110% into it, like it's your first time. Is that right?
It is, and it's exhausting for sure. It's like, oh, I just did this long run and now it's over, and then it's like, oh, like, you have to go get another job because no one else is just going to hand you one. With the rare circumstance of American Idiot for me, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
you don't just get handed out. Like I think a lot of people watch Entourage and they're like, well, they send these roles. These actors don't, maybe for a big thing, Vinny Chase will audition, but don't most auditions don't most parts just get like given to you?
Just give it to you, yeah.
That's what it works. that works.
Yeah, that's inspiring stuff, man. I mean, because you really do have to grind your ass off, and I'm sure. I mean, you kind of have to
Especially
like.
to pay bills in New York City while doing it,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
yeah, and that's and either New York or L.A. I mean, right? I mean,
Right.
those are the two
Yeah,
spots,
yeah.
and
For
they're
me
not.
personally, it was in here. Yeah.
Neither of them are cheap. So.
Yeah. Well, what's cool now is that and I didn't realize this until I went to Chicago, a couple years ago to do an episode of Chicago Fire, uh, that there are a lot of other places that kind of have hubs now. Like Chicago is pretty, like decently in the mix of like you can be an actor, like a professional actor in Chicago, and there's a lot
Huh.
of like they have a lot of out of town, like a lot of off Broadway stuff might start there at one of the theaters, or they had Hamilton, like a special run of Hamilton that was just sit down in Chicago that my buddy was Hamilton in for years. And then they also have like all the Chicago shows now that this is this huge compound um, of sound stages and warehouses and stuff that they do the Chicago PD and Chicago Fire and Chicago
Interesting.
Med, but then they also that's kind of like Chicago's Law and Order uh, syndicate
Hmm.
kind of thing where they have their own compound and where they do everything and but they've done a lot of like movies have shot there in
I was gonna
Chicago
say
for
there's
a long
probably one of
time
those things where if you have a long running successful operation that you're running, I mean it's
yeah
that kind of proves that hey you can do it here, and then
yeah
people are always looking for that next big
right
thing, and if
and what's cool I mean a lot of things film in New Orleans and Atlanta and even Buffalo now too because of a lot of tax incentives have been approved and passed for a lot of the different states that like basically means if your production films here, this is the incentive tax cut that you can like you won't pay taxes or you won't pay as many taxes.
Mhm.
You'll get a pretty big chunk off of that. So a lot of producers kind of have jumped all over to and Canada is a big Toronto and Vancouver. So what's kind of cool to see is that I mean I don't know how all of those places are to like move there and be an actor. Like that's probably a totally different thing, but um, it's pretty cool to see that it's not like just the generic New York, L.A. or bust
Yeah.
kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, I remember when I was playing football. I was working a 9 to 5 and playing football at the time, and when they were filming Ninja Turtles 2 on the
Was that
33.
Secret of the Ooze or is that a different?
I don't
Is that
remember
the
what it
first one?
was, but it was.
Okay.
I remember just panicking and freaking out if I was late leaving work because I had to. They
Oh
closed
wait, you
the.
mean not the original?
Not the
Not the.
original. No,
Now
no, no.
I'm following you.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
I'm following you.
I
Yeah,
think they filmed number 2 in. Well, I know they
yeah,
filmed number 2 in Buffalo. Like the beginning, the opening scene is on
yeah.
the
Right,
33,
right.
and they'd
Yep,
close it
yep.
down. But it was like at the time I was going to football practice every day downtown, so I was just
Yeah,
in a mad dash to beat them cutting off the throughway for the Ninja Turtles movie, like on a daily
that's
basis.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Day in the life.
Day in the life. I was gonna say too. I kick myself all the time because when I was in New York, one of the 3 times,
Yeah.
we came and hung out with you. I think it was like I think it must have been 14 or 15. And
Mhm.
when we were there, we were like, "Yo, are there any shows that you think are like worth going to?" And I'll never.
Yeah.
You texted me. You're like, "Yeah, this Hamilton show is like I think like the next big thing." And I was like, "Eh," and I didn't go.
Eh, if there's time.
And then it
If there's
exploded,
time,
and I'm
huh?
like, "You
Yeah.
son of a bitch, you
Not only did it
idiot!"
explode, but then it came to like Disney Plus. It's the biggest show ever.
I'll never forget that. I wish I still had that
Nailed it.
text. Yeah, yeah, you
Nailed
nailed it. You nailed it. So next time I will take your advice. I promise.
Yeah, man.
um,
That's all I asked.
so I mean, once you transition to TV and film, why don't you just give a rundown of some of the highlights of some of the shows? And you mentioned Chicago
I
Fire.
mean, yeah, Chicago Fire was amazing because I got to. They flew me to Chicago, put me up in a
Wow.
nice hotel, and that was really fun.
For how
And it
long?
was for it was only for like a couple days, but then me and Steph, because it was around our anniversary, we kind of made it into a little weekend trip where I got there on Wednesday, and then we stayed through Monday or something like that,
That's awesome.
which was cool. And but I mean, one of the coolest experiences was for sure being on Wolf of Wall Street, being directed by Martin Scorsese, which is insane to say.
That's so wild.
Um, just the nicest guy. It's like your friend's grandpa or something. Like he's I'm Marty, and he's like 4 feet tall. It's cute. He was amazing though, and all of those actors that we got to be on set. Or I got to be on set for 2 weeks, which was the last 2 weeks of the whole production. Um,
Wow.
which was really cool because it was right around Christmas. So we did like a week before Christmas, and then we broke till after New Year's, and then filmed for the final week, and uh, and then I got to go to the wrap party too, which was pretty sweet. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that was really awesome. That was one of those like, oh my god, this is insane right now.
Yeah.
Like there was a day that because Rob Reiner is also in the movie, and like Steven Spielberg was just casually visiting the set, and I was like, if someone bombs this place, like we're out three iconic like huge
Right. Yeah.
directors. This is nuts, but that was cool. We filmed
What a moment they had to
kind of
be
in
to look
seclusion and
around.
privacy in Westchester. No one knew we were there because they rented a whole for my scenes. We're all in an office, so they rented an actual vacant office space that was like 3 floors. It was this huge thing that was isolated and surrounded by woods, so no one could see. And we each instead of trailers or our dressing rooms were offices, which was
Oh wow, that's
so we
really
each got
interesting.
like our own office for our dressing room, which was awesome. And
Holy
but
shit, that's cool.
that was really fun. What else is there? Gotham was one of those creepy roles that after I auditioned, I was like, man, I know I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get. It's so weird. I'm gonna get it. And for
You were the
context,
one
it's like
getting whipped, right?
I like we yeah,
Yeah.
I work in a like sex shop where apparently my character has a safe that has some sort of passcode or something that uh, the other character needed, one of the lead characters, and she tricks me into that I'm showing her the it's like a stockade bit like the village idiot
Village
thing
idiot.
that
Yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
hands through
That's exactly what I was saying.
hands it head through, and I'm like, oh well, it works like this, and then she locks me in it and whips me into submission. So that was pretty cool. Uh, and
What was the show?
Law and Order was a big one for me because that was like my dad loves Law and Order, so that's like you're an actor
Well, I was gonna
officially
say too,
to
when
anyone when
in
you're
Law
on
and
Law and Order.
Order, I mean, you weren't just, and not to take anything away from anything else
Yeah,
you've
no,
done.
I
You
was
were
a featured part. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and it was
yeah.
like you. Spoiler alert. You were the bad guy. Like not the bad guy, but you were the
Well,
turning point. You were the
I'm the
turning point.
snitch. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah, yeah.
snitch. I'm my friend.
You were
Yeah.
the twist. Like you were the twist in it.
Right,
Yeah. And
right,
when me and
right.
Jenny were watching it, we were like, "Oh my God, there he is!" But he keeps coming back. Oh, he's a part
Yeah,
of it. It was really
yeah,
cool.
man, that was wild.
Yeah.
That was a really fun time. A definite check off the bucket list.
So
Um,
how's COVID affected everything with you? I mean,
whew,
obviously,
oh boy.
like just
Well,
screeching halt. So
I am living in Buffalo at my parents' house.
yeah,
For all that don't know,
living the dream.
just we had our lease was up and didn't make sense to be there, so
Oh yeah, for sure.
we're just saving money right now. But I mean, yeah, there's no. I mean, especially theater, it's like they're non-existent
Yeah,
right now, and there's no real end in sight, uh, which is pretty alarming. So hopefully they come up with some ways to get people back in. And I mean, the pandemic is just you can't have large gatherings
yeah,
to do these things anymore right now. So until that changes, like this doesn't seem to change very much. But film and television has seemed to pick up, not to the levels it was before, but it's at least signs of something being done. And I've had some auditions come in for some film and television, or mostly just television stuff recently. But there's not a whole lot out there right now. And Stephanie is a singer with her band, and I mean that relies on packed bars and bars
hmm
that want to pay musicians to perform. So there's so much that's gotta fall into place before we're all back up and running again, which is pretty concerning. But
yeah.
there's a little bit of solidarity in the fact that we're all kind of in a similar same boat. So it's like an odd reassurance of we'll get through this together.
And for those that don't know, Stephanie is BJ's fiance.
She's my fiance. My beautiful fiance.
Beautiful. I can attest. She's beautiful.
We
inside
don't know
and
when
out.
Get married because of this pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, so you're preaching the choir on that
too,
one.
Right?
Yeah.
We got engaged the same year.
Yeah. Our wedding's supposed to be in June, but I mean, it's like,
Right.
and it's not even like, if it would be much easier to make the decision if they were like, no, you can't get married, or yes, it's a free for all. Not.
Yeah.
Well, you can only have 50 people, but it's only if they get tested,
I mean,
and
that's
it's
what
like, okay.
we're kind of in immediate agreement that, like, I mean, we don't feel the need to like have to rush and just do it to be married. You know,
Right.
we definitely both want to have the celebration that we deserve to have. So it's like, I think we can wait until the dust settles for,
especially for the money we dropped on all our friends' weddings, you know.
Right, exactly.
They owe us, baby. Exactly. They owe us.
Exactly. That's correct. That's correct.
We're thinking about maybe doing like maybe a small, like, we want to get married, but not have like it be, you know, not a huge, but like not a venue type thing or like a traditional. Yeah. It's just kind of like, you know, parents, right? And then maybe a year afterwards have an anniversary party.
Yeah,
but
I've seen people do it even before the pandemic hit, which works pretty well. I mean, whatever you want to do. I mean, it's probably less stressful to break it up and you know.
Unlike you, I hate being the center of attention. I panic when people are looking at me.
I don't really like it either. I just do it for a living.
I freak out. I freak out when people like pay attention to me like live. So like a wedding, as wonderful and as glorious as getting married is, it's like a worst case scenario for me.
It's one of those daunting things, right? I don't want to be constantly on for my way, you know.
Yes.
And you have to be like, you're the reason that these people are out there.
The other thing too is like, it's one of those things where, you know, when you're like, don't say it, or don't do this, that you kind of like force it. Me, and just like, don't pass out. Yeah. And like, I know I'm gonna pass out and make a scene. Right. So I don't
well, but I think the best part is that other people, you think that everyone is just gonna want to like sit and talk with you but like everyone knows that you can't do that.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like off the hook a little bit too if you think about it.
I look at all the weddings.
Yes, you have to put in your time with everyone, but you can you always have a reason to leave a conversation.
That's true. That's a good point.
You're the groom.
And I always look at the weddings that I was at that I wasn't in, and I'm like, I never really had like much FaceTime with the bride or the groom. I was there to have a good time, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had, if you were in the wedding, like you had all the party moments that you've had, at least the rehearsal dinner and things where you had that, and then the actual day of the wedding, like you probably stay as far away from the bride or groom.
Give them the space.
After parties, yeah.
So as far as like you and Stephanie, like I was talking about you guys singing, and are you guys doing any type of? I mean, I know you guys are singing together.
Yeah, it's tough right now to do anything like on video because I have the setup, but this literally only will fit like one person at a time.
Wait a minute, you're in space,
anyway.
so you should fit.
Yeah, it's all a facade.
What?
It's a sheet.
Come on.
I know. I wanted to maintain the mystique, but
wow. I don't even know if the Earth is round.
But it's one of those things where like right now, like once we, whenever we get to go back to New York and get another apartment, like we want to have a second bedroom that we can set up as just kind of the office thing, because this is the basically what normal is now, is doing these things over Zoom and other internet platforms and getting video content out there. So we've souped up as far as our technology stuff, and the next thing we want to do is just at least have a little bit more space, which then we'll do definitely more videos and stuff. Right now we've done some like backup vocal things for friends and recorded them here, but not on like video, just because it's like going back in time being here.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. When I was back home, it was tough to. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just tough. We'll leave it at that.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So, and anyone listening, after if this is your first time listening, what I like to do is put links to all of my guests, whether it be their social media channels, any performances in this case, or any links that are related to you. BJ, after this, you just send me whatever you want me to post, and I put it in the show notes, so anyone who listens to the podcast can refer to the notes and follow you that way.
Yeah, we'll put up the podcast that you were on for me and Mike Farrell and Mike Pismaroff.
We'll just do an endless loop. They just constantly
the Good Enough podcast. That'll be.
Yeah, shout out to the Good Enough.
Well, that sounded weird. It'll be coming to the platform.
Yeah, I did.
In the next month or so.
And it was interesting because I did a podcast with you guys that was last Saturday, and it's just cool to. This is where I see the value, and it goes back to what you were talking about with Chicago and different other hubs popping up. Is I think there was I don't know how to I don't know the term I'm looking for, but there was just a limited number. It was like musical chairs, I think, and especially in the entertainment industry, where if you wanted to be an actor, there was like 2 production movie places. I don't know what they call it, studios. They're like 2 studios. There's 3 television shows. There was 3 networks that you were trying to get on, and now I think the model has changed so much with the maturity of the internet. The internet growing, where you have these platforms where you can really make a television station, quote unquote, about yourself, and people, if you're interesting and talented, people will watch you. They'll be interested, and that's why I want to help.
Now more time than ever, people are looking for different things to watch or listen to, or whatever. So it's
yeah, for sure, man. So we're gonna enter the part of the show where I completely randomize the questions here. This is what I like to do. These are called pod decks. So this is what the show is powered by. So you see it right here. They're called pod decks. So we're gonna go 5 would you rathers and then 5 what the hecks. Okay. I feel like this is
what the heck.
This is fun to do because we talked about your acting and kind of your path to extreme stardom, and
on the spot here.
But this is a little bit of a candid. Yeah, these are fun. So,
all right.
I'm just shuffling them up here. All right, here we go. So let's go. First one up here. Right. We'll skip that one because you're you're engaged, so that one would have made sense. Yeah. All right. We don't need to start any fights on the show. Okay, here we go. Would you rather blow your nose with sandpaper or use bubble wrap instead of toilet paper?
Bubble wrap, 100%.
Yeah?
Sandpaper would. Yeah, I mean, at least it's not going to do as good of a job, but at least it's more cushiony. Sandpaper on your nose, you're going to be bleeding after it.
What if you don't move it? What if you just...
Don't move it. Then you got snot nose. I don't know how you blow your nose, but you got to get it out there somehow.
I'm not good at nose.
You're not getting out of there without a scratched nose. I'll tell you that.
Well,
from experience.
Maybe that's you. Yeah. All right. So 1 vote for sandpaper. All right.
Yeah.
So, would you rather spend the night in a dumpster or a porta potty?
Oh God. Dumpster. I think just because porta potties creep me out, man. Staring into that blue abyss, and not knowing what's in there.
We've been to Bills games. We know what's going on.
Looking at my background is what a porta potty is like.
Very true. I feel you on that one. I said, we've been to Bills games. We know what's going on in porta potties.
Yeah. Watching videos of people get tipped over in them.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, would you rather wear adult diapers the rest of your life or never wear underwear again?
Oh, never wear. I guess never wear underwear again because that's less gross than wearing an adult diaper all the time. If you're an astronaut, if I was in space, I might go the diaper route because they have to wear them anyway. But,
all right.
Yeah.
These all seem to be very toilet based, but I think it's just a luck of the draw.
Is it poo decks or pod decks?
Boom! He'll be here all day, folks.
Still got it.
Would you rather have your face printed on money or your all own small town named in your honor? That's a good one. No toilet there.
Small town for sure.
Small town.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think it'd be
Humble
called?
man. I'm a humble
Brianville?
man. I don't need to be on money. Um, BCJville or not BJville. That
Yeah,
would
that's.
come with a different demographic. I think. Got to pop that C in the middle, man.
Yeah, you got to definitely keep it on brand,
Got to be safe.
That question doesn't make sense, so we'll skip it. The question is, would you rather see Oprah or Arnold Schwarzenegger as the next U.S. president? But Arnold can't be president because he wasn't born here.
Yeah, I'd still rather see Oprah for sure. She seems like she could really, be the closest of the two.
We're not going to count that as question 5 because it's not real.
All right, good.
All right. I know the question to that one. Would you... All right, we'll skip that one. Let's find a good one here. Oh, me and Jenny got in a good conversation about this one. Would you rather... Oh, no.
Okay.
Nope, never mind. Nope. Here we go. Never be able to use search engines again or never use a smartphone app again?
I guess because I use my phone more, search engines, that does apply to the smartphone too.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky. I guess I'd rather have the search engine and give up on the apps.
Really?
Yeah, because here's a loophole for you: is you can get to a lot of apps using your search engine.
Yeah. I just couldn't,
Just figured it out.
I use so many apps, for training and stuff. I just couldn't give them up.
Yeah, I know.
You
I
know?
mean, to be real, we're
I
at that
could, but-
point in the world that you can't get by doing without either. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if I really had to, I mean, I lived 20 years
Yeah,
before the
who's
phone was
making
invented.
me not do this?
Yeah.
It's more the question I want to answer.
Poodex are making you not
Oh
do it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to what the heck. These were good. I'm
What is
impressed.
what the heck now?
You really nailed it. I'm impressed.
Sweet, thanks.
Yeah, some people just go pass next. You live with
It's all in the
conviction, my friend.
preparation. It's all in the preparation.
This is pre-recorded, and I've already given them the questions.
right.
All right, here we go. What the heck? So, have you ever accidentally texted the wrong person, and how did it turn out?
Yeah, I've done that a lot of times, and you always feel like a fool. And depending on hopefully it's not anyone, like someone you know personally, that would be like, whatever, it happens all the time. I figured, just wanted to check, and not like your boss or with something inappropriate. Like I don't think I've ever been stupid enough to text something about someone to that person. I've always heard of that happening as a little tricky one, but thankfully I've avoided it. So, in long story short, I have done it, but it's never really affected.
Never blown up in your face. Never been a
Right,
huge.
right.
My move. I do this quite often because I'm a moron. I text the wrong people consistently.
Yeah.
But usually it's when I've had a couple pops,
Sure.
and if someone responds that I like. Because half the time I'll send a text and then forgot that I sent a text.
Right.
So then when I
right.
get a response from the person that I didn't mean to send it to, look at my phone. I'm like, what the hell? Why are they texting me? So then my move is I've ingrained it in myself. So now if they respond with a question mark or what,
Right.
I just respond with a question mark, and that pretty much just kills the conversation then, because they're so confused in the situation. So there's a life hack for you.
It comes up again.
Yeah,
There you go.
there's a life hack for you, everybody.
That's one way to do it.
All right. So that's question 1. Question 2. What is your favorite microwavable food?
Ooh, favorite micro. It's got to be. Let's see. It's got to be Hot Pockets, right?
Oh, I hate Hot Pockets. You like Hot Pockets?
Yeah, they're all right. I mean, I don't eat them anymore. I don't know what I don't really cook anything in the or in the microwave. It's
I just
mostly
can't
all
find that-
stovetop and oven for me.
I can't find that happy medium with Hot Pockets. It's either you got to
You
wait.
never here's a good one. Popcorn. That's
Popcorn.
man.
That's a good one.
Popcorn.
That's a good one.
Popcorn's one of those that you can't really do anywhere else unless you got the Jiffy Pop.
Who wants to do that?
Not me.
No.
Not me. Put it in the
You're
center,
cooking.
forget it in the microwave.
Yeah, who wants to do that? All right. So that's a good answer. I like that. See?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So when you were a kid, did you have any posters on your wall? And if you did, what were they?
Well, I could look at them. No, actually, but I am in my old bedroom as we speak right now. So one thing that caught Stephanie's eye were my 2 favorite posters. One was a WWF Superstars, from like the Attitude Era, the prime time
Mm-hmm.
for my childhood. And then I randomly had a Orlando Magic uh, with Shaq, Penny Hardaway, Nick Anderson, like that whole team, because I loved Penny and Shaq. Uh, and so I just got a poster, I guess.
I mean, whenever I think Brian Charles
Yeah.
Johnson, I think, he's a big Penny Shaq guy. That's
Dude,
the first
I
thing.
was, man. When Shaq was on the leader Pepsis, man, that was a big time for me.
You know what I always think about is those teams in the 90s, like those brand new
Insane.
teams like them, their marketing teams were friggin' brilliant.
Oh man, they're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was a huge fan, I guess. I don't really remember it too much, but I do remember loving Shaq and Penny. And then when Penny had the commercials with Chris Rock as the puppet, as Lil Penny.
Yeah.
Those are
It looked like a marionette, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember those. Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think that was pretty much the main two. There was like a Jordan one behind the door too. So.
Who didn't have a Jordan poster?
But it was
right?
it was like a Space Jam one though. So.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah.
sweet. That'd be sweet if you still had that.
Yes.
How do you feel about them remaking it?
Did
You gonna
not
watch it?
stand the test of time. The new one, yeah, of course, I'll watch it. It won't be anywhere near the same, but hopefully it's cool enough and different that it'll be good.
Nice.
I think it will.
LeBron loses, blames all the Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Hopefully Wayne Knight and Bill Murray can somehow be in it.
That would be I bet they figured out how to get him in there.
Yeah,
I
come
bet.
on. Got it.
All right, so if you had to pick a new name for yourself, what would you pick?
Oh my, I don't know. I wouldn't want to pick it up. I mean, I guess that's pretty funny because a lot of actors use different names, but I've never understood that for myself, and lucked out with Brian Charles Johnson sounding like it fits together.
I like it, yeah.
I'm standing my ground, sticking to my guns.
You want to be like Byron Chris Jackson?
yeah. No.
Okay.
It makes me sound pretentious.
Yeah, that one doesn't really flow off the tongue either. So,
Yeah. Right.
All right. Do
Go,
you
okay.
have a favorite T-shirt, and if so, what's on it, or what does it say? I can't read. We'll start that again.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite T-shirt? If so, what's on it, or what does it say?
Yeah, okay. So my favorite T-shirt, my buddy Rob Bennett, who makes handprints his own T-shirts in New York City. He's amazing, and his latest couple that I've gotten he started doing this thing, like with one celebrity as multiple celebrities in a band together. Like it's different versions of that same actor from like different movies. There's like 5 different different bodies on a band logo, and it's like the first one he did was the Jeff and the Goldblums, and it's all Jeff Goldblum faces on like I think he found a Beatles picture and put his head on all the members of the band.
People are so creative.
That's what. And then he's got a Bill Murray one that's it's like Bill Murray's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and it's Bill Murray from different movies. His head.
What a creative idea! I like that a lot. That's Woody.
Yeah, so he's got some pretty cool. But I mean, half of my wardrobe is his stuff, and then which he's Useless Creations on Facebook. And
We can drop the link in the
Instagram
comments. Like,
probably. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
And 26 shirts, which I don't know if you've talked about it on here before, but the charity-based organization run by Del Reed. So that's pretty much my entire T-shirt wardrobe.
It's a good lead-in, by the way. We got big news coming out for 26 shirts, but that's for another time.
Yeah.
Show the people watching right now the shirt that you got on right now.
It says "I am the Blizzard Queen," which is a deep cut reference to a Simpsons episode where Lisa drinks the water at Duff Gardens and goes kind of crazy. But this artist on Instagram mashes up Simpsons and the Bills, because you can see the Zuba on the blanket here.
Okay.
She says the quote is "I am the Lizard Queen," but they just popped a B and an extra Z.
Buffalo Blizzard. And for those listening, it's Lisa Simpson with like a Buffalo Bills Zubas like poncho on. So So there's a whole thing going on there. It's wonderful. I love it.
That's right.
Well, BJ, it's been, or Brian Childs Johnson, or BCJ. It's been an hour 15 minutes, man. So I always like to, finish up here with anything that you'd like to add. Anyone who's listening to this that, maybe has acted in the past, or any advice that for people that are acting now. I mean, what do you want to wind up with here? Any last words here?
I mean, it all starts from you believing in yourself. So, I mean, if you believe you could do something, then don't let anyone tell you that you can't. And work as hard as you can to make yourself happy,
Short, to the point, and wise words from a wise man.
That's right.
I appreciate you coming on. You stay on the Zoom call. I'm going to end the broadcast right here. Love you as always, brother.